Since you're attacking us, can you give us a question?
Go ahead.
No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization.
Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir,
Quiet.
Quiet. Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Can you state
She's asking a
categorically,
question.
Mr.
Don't be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
I just think of Alex Baldwin when I say that. Anyway, Donald Trump refusing to take a question, and that voice you heard in the back was CNN's chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta, at yesterday's press conference. President-elect still upset about CNN breaking the story about the Russian hacking that said Trump supporters were in contact with the Russians. Trump conflated CNN's reporting with a salacious story from BuzzFeed, and he called the whole thing fake news. Now, don't even take my word for it. Go over to Fox News. They're even coming to his defense. Take a listen to what Shep Smith had to say specifically about CNN's decision.
President-elect Trump today told CNN's Jim Acosta that his organization amounts to fake news. CNN's exclusive reporting on the Russian matter was separate and distinctly different from the document dump executed by an online news property. Though we at Fox News cannot confirm CNN's report, it is our observation that its correspondents followed journalistic standards and that neither they nor any other journalists should be subjected to belittling and delegitimizing by the President-elect of the United States.
I should also note, reportedly, that blessing came all the way up from the Murdochs at the top here, because they saw and believed what Trump would do to them, one day he may do to the Foxes and the rest of the world here, because there is a major distinction between what CNN reported and, as we'll explain, what BuzzFeed did. But there's not unanimity that CNN didn't go early with this story. Tom Brokaw, of course, legendary from NBC News, he took issue with CNN's decision. Take a listen to what he had to say on Morning Joe.
It's been around, and a number of organizations have been looking at it for some time. I was surprised when it showed up in this form. When it got to the intel agencies and they included it in a report to the president without any kind of conclusion about the veracity of it.
Now, Brokaw also said that the Trump people have a beef here with what CNN did. So the question is, did they handle it correctly? And just from a point of clarification, because I know if you listen to the press conference, you think BuzzFeed and CNN, 6 of one, half a dozen the other. What happened was, and we now have had this confirmed, the 4 chief intelligence agency heads, they had independent briefings with the current president and the president-elect, where they went over, obviously, latest security information that was prevalent. Moreover, they also had a 2-page addendum, and in it, they said that there is intelligence out there yet to be corroborated, but it implied that there was coordination on the part of the Trump campaign or elements within it during the course of the campaign with folks in Moscow, without definition who exactly they were. They also said there could be personal or business information that the Russians had that could compromise a president-elect or President Trump. Now, they didn't specify that it was true or not, but that it had been so widely shared and was out there, and the sources that acquired it were considered very credible. John McCain, by the way, when he got this information, he went directly to the FBI, who apparently had it already, and it was shared. Now, at that point, Trump, later on that evening, BuzzFeed, they took what was a 30-page dossier that was put together on this, and they released it out. Now, what I find fascinating is Donald Trump considered fake news. A lot of people, nobody has said that's confirmable at all. CNN never posted it, let alone aired it. But Trump then went into details about what was in there, talking about his germaphobe. And if you choose to, you read the report, you'll see exactly where he's going with that as well. He also talked about someone, an attorney that had never been to Prague. That also was in the dossier that was not in the intelligence briefing, that was not shared. So to that end, and I'll start with you, Dom, was CNN right when they went with the report, once they were able to confirm that intelligence heads had shared that information with both President Obama and President-elect Trump?
Of course they were. They had correct to do exactly what they did. Number one, they sat on it for 3 days. That's number one. Number two, based on what I just saw of Tom Brokaw, he didn't take, I know you said something else. He didn't take exception with with the reporting of it. He took exception with including the 2-page report by the intelligence community. So should the intelligence community have leaked this? Absolutely not. But when you go around talking about people in bad ways, guess what, Mr. President-elect? It's going to come back to bite you in the rear end. That's exactly what happened. So now here's the problem with BuzzFeed and the internet, and I want to be first and exclusive, and we got it first and exclusive, and we're going to go up on our ad rights, exclusives. You don't pay attention to the facts. When you're talking about golden showers and things like that, and I'm not going to explain it in the family hour, as it relates to the president-elect, I won't go any further. You don't have to go there. When you're doing that, that's not journalism. CNN didn't mention that one time. Not one time.
And the Trump campaign clearly said that they did.
But let me just say this one thing. We're seeing where the folks screwed up, and I have a history of contentious news conferences with powerful elected officials. Where they screwed up at the news conference, when Jim Acosta tried to answer the question, he was right to keep going. The other reporters, this is what used to happen to me at City Hall when I would go with Rudy. They were supposed to sit down. Mr. President, we will not ask you a single follow-up question until you answer. You don't say it. Jim should be the only one yelling repeatedly, and you embarrass the president, and then he's forced to answer.
And there's a belief that the White House press corps, and apparently there's been some preliminary conversations, that they don't want to see a repeat of that to one of their own here, where there's legitimacy to it. Andrew, 2 different schools of thought, that there needed to be more confirmation or corroboration. But was it CNN's job to have to, if the intelligence agencies are sharing it with the president-elect, why don't we as the public have a right to know if they confirmed that it in fact was shared?
It's 2 different stories here. Think of what BuzzFeed did here as WikiLeaks.
Yep.
WikiLeaks, they have this document. We don't know if it's true. We haven't looked into it, but here it is. That's what BuzzFeed did. What CNN did is say, hey, a summary of that BuzzFeed information was submitted to the president and the president-elect. General standards are that if you have 2 confirmations on that, then you've got the story and you go with it. Easy enough to get 2, well, not easy enough, but if they had 2 people on the inside of those meetings who knew that it was either part of the material that was being presented to the president and president-elect or was available for the briefers to give to him, then they got the story 100% correct, and they were absolutely right to go to air with it. We don't always know what the president or president-elect are being briefed on, but when we find out something that's of news value, and let's be honest, the contents of this are have serious news value, then there's an absolute value and a responsibility at that point to tell people. If you've got it from 2 sources, you almost have to report it.
CNN absolutely did the right thing, and they were reporting on the process. The president and president-elect were briefed on this. Were they? Yes, enough. BuzzFeed was approached. We have this file. Apparently, the story is from this private investor, but everyone has it. And then they were challenged, what file? And they said, this file. So, I mean, in disclosure, I like Ben. I know him. I've been to a birthday party in his home years ago. Anyone who's coming up in New York City politics and press knows him. But, you know, it's legit, and they found a way to put this out there. Apparently, everybody's been talking about it for a long while.
Has, in any way, I know I've got to hit a break, has this president-elect courted this in that, first of all, he's the one who claimed Obama was never an American citizen, and he led the biggest thing of fake news, okay? He also was the one, hey, hack some more. Go get him, Russia. Go ahead and hack. Hey, Julian Assange. First he wanted him to be put to death, and then he said, I think he's a good guy. Has he reaped in some ways what he's sown with this?
I think it's been an exceedingly contentious political season and overlong on both sides. I would welcome a community of journalism that was able to, and a president, and I think the president-elect will be able to get past these things because he takes his job seriously, and again, he's performance-oriented. So I think he's going to want to elevate the level of everything everybo's talking about.
I want you to be right, Nan. I've seen zero evidence,
but Richard,
especially yesterday, that he wants to elevate the discourse.
But again, he is capable of observing and learning. He cares about his reputation. He's going to care deeply about his reputation.
We'll talk about that one on the other side of the break here. How should the media cover this president and this presidency? Will he get zero slack for the way he attacks the press, or was what we saw yesterday what we should expect for the next 4 years? Stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back.